What's up, folks? Welcome to Math Walkthroughs with Mr. Weeb. Today we are going to take a look at our Lesson 2 practice pages for our integers unit. Let's have a look at what we've got. It says we should add the following integers using counters and a number line. Okay, 4 plus 1. Well, I already know that that's going to be a 5, but I should start with counters. Now the positive counters are yellow, so I've got 4 there plus another 1 here. And then my answer, again, is 5. On a number line, it looks like this. We start at 4, and we are moving to the right. So I'm going to use yellow to show that. I start at 4, and I move 1 to the right. I add 1, and this is our answer right there. Next, we've got 3 plus a negative 4. So let's go and add our 3 counters plus a negative 4. We add 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that these cancel each other out because those are 0 pairs, so I'm left with 1 negative. So the answer is negative 1. On a number line, we would start at 3. Okay, we start at 3 and we're going to be adding a negative, so that means we're moving to the left. And I'm going to do it in red. So if I start at 3, and I'm going to be moving 4 over to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm subtracting 4, and this is our answer right there, negative 1. Let's look at the next one. It says 9 plus negative 5. Okay, so if I have 9 counters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I add negative 5, I'm adding another negative 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know that these cancel out because these are 0 pairs, and what I'm left with is 4, positive 4. And on a number line, if I start at 9, and then I'm adding negatives, that means I'm going to the left. So I'm going to start at 9 here, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this way. I'm subtracting 5, and this is my answer. For the next question, it says 7 plus negative 3. So I start with 7 positive counters, and I'm adding 3 negative counters. These cancel out, and I'm left with 4 positive counters. So the answer is 4. On a number line, if we start with 7, and then we're adding negative ones, we're going to the left. So we start with 7, and we're adding 1, 2, 3. We're adding 3 negatives, so we're going to the left. That means where we end up, that's our answer. Next, we've got negative 2 plus 4. So this time, we're starting with 2 negative counters, and we're adding 4 positives. I know that these cancel out because those are 0 pairs, and we're ending up with 2 positives. On a number line, if we start at negative 2, and we're going to be adding positives. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're adding 4, and we end up at 2 right there. Next, if we start with 1 negative, and we're adding 2 positives, these cancel out to a 0 pair, and we end up with 1. If we start on the number line at negative 1, and we're adding 2, that means start here, and we're going to the right by 2 spots. And where we end up, that's our answer. Next, we're going to start at negative 5. So we have 5 negative counters, and then we're adding 5 positive counters. They're all 0 pairs here, so the answer is going to be 0. On a number line, if we start at negative 5, and we're going to be adding, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we added 5, and where we ended up, that's our answer. Next we've got negative 1 plus negative 6. Here's a bit different. So we start at negative 1, and then we're going to add 6 more negative counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In total, how many negative counters do we have? We've got 7 negative counters. So the answer is negative 7. If we start at negative 1 and we're adding negative counters, we're going to the left. So if we start at negative 1, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? We're subtracting 6, and where we end up, that's our answer. Next, we start with 4 negative counters, and we add 1 negative counter. We add 1 negative counter, so we have in total 5 negative counters, or negative 5. If we start at negative 4 on the number line, and we're going to the left because we are subtracting or adding negatives, start here, add 1 negative, and we end up right there. Okay, next we've got negative 3. So we're going to start at negative 3. We're going to add 5 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in total we have 8 negatives, or negative 8. If we start at negative 3 on the number line, and we're going to be adding more negatives, we're going to be adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more negatives. That will end us at negative 8. Then we have negative 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 negatives to start with. And we're adding 5 this time. Okay, so let's add 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 0 pairs. And we're left with 4 negatives. So the answer is negative 4. If we were to start at negative 9, and now we're going to the right because we're adding positives. So we start at negative 9 and we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We added 5 and we ended up with negative 4. Now we need to match each number line to an expression. Here I see 15 plus a negative 5. So it's kind of like 15 take away 5. So where do I see 15 take away 5? Well, here I see a 15 and it's taking away 5. And we end up at 10. So I can connect those two. Then I've got negative 3 plus 2. Where do I see a negative 3? Well, here there is a negative 3 here, but it doesn't look like they're adding 2 to it. Here they start at negative 3, right? Everybody starts at 0. We've got a negative 3 then, and adding 2. That seems to connect well. So we'll say this one connects there. And just to double check, we should just see if this one matches. Minus 3. So they go back 3 from 0. And then they're adding 2 more negatives. That does make sense. So let's have this one match up there. Okay, add the following integers. Now we don't have to use counters or number lines if we don't want to. So let's go ahead and do that. 7 plus a positive 3, well, that's just 10. 7 plus 3 is 10. If I have negative 5 plus negative 9, well, how many negatives do I have? I've got 14 negatives. Okay, here I've got 5 negatives plus 6 negatives. That's going to be 11 negatives. Now I've got 9 negatives plus another 4 negatives. So I'm going to have 13 negatives, or negative 13. Now here I've got 5 negatives and 4 positives. So I know that 4 of them are going to cancel out, so I'm going to be left with negative 1. In the next question, I have 3 negatives and another 9 negatives, so I'm going to have 12 negatives in total. I do sometimes think about this. When I'm doing this, I'm thinking about it in terms of number lines. So I'm thinking, okay, I've got negative 7, but I'm adding 1, so I have to move to the right. So on my number line, that would be at negative 6. Next I have 9 negatives, and I've got 11 negatives here. Here we've got some word problem. A football team loses 5 yards on one play and then loses 8 yards on the next play. How many yards did they lose on the 2 plays? Okay, so they lose 5 yards. That sounds to me like they are going down. They've lost 5 yards, and then they lose another 8 yards on the next play. That sounds like a negative thing. How many yards did they lose on the 2 plays? Well, all I have to do is add those 2 plays together. They've got negative 13 yards on 2 plays. The next question says, you park in a garage 3 floors below ground level. Then you get in the elevator and go up 12 floors. What floor do you get off the elevator? Okay, so if they're 3 floors below ground level, let's say ground level is 0, then they start on a negative 3. But then they get in the elevator and they go up 12 floors. So they're adding 12. They're adding 12. Okay, so when that happens, then they should be up at 9, at the 9th floor. Right? You could think of it on the number line or in terms of counters. It's up to you. In 2002, Tiger Woods won the Masters tournament. His scores were -2, -3, -6, and -1 for 4 rounds. What was his final score? Okay, so we have to add all these scores. They were -2 plus -3 plus -6 plus -1. He's going to have an overall negative score, and that's a good thing for golf. Okay, so if we add all these together, we've got 2 plus 3 is 5, another 6 is 11, another 1 is 12. So he ends up with a score of -12. Finally, we have if it is 8 degrees outside and the temperature will drop 16 degrees in the next 6 hours, how cold will it get? Well, let's make our own equation. Okay, so it's +8 degrees outside. I'm going to write that in yellow. It's 8 degrees and the temperature will drop 16 degrees. So we're going to add -16 to it. How cold is it going to get? Well, I think it will be colder. It will go below 0, right? If you think of it on the number line. If you think of it on the number line here, where here's 0 and here's 8, then to go from 8, they would have to take away 16. So they would take away 8 here, and they would have to take another 8 away. And you end up with a -8. So the final is -8. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.